Alright guys, so a few months back I made a video about McLaren. In that video I talked about when I thought McLaren could potentially fight for a title, and let's just say it aged like milk. In that video I said that we could expect to see McLaren fighting for a constructors and drivers title as early as 2023. And I was so confident in the team, I even said that they could possibly have a title contending car for 2022, and boy was I wrong. Now, to double down on damage, I had also said that when McLaren would be contending for the title, the main point scorer and the most likely driver to win the Drivers' Championship in that period would be Daniel Ricciardo. And that played out extremely well. So you see what I mean when I say that I was wrong about McLaren. Now, when I made that video, Ricciardo was fresh off a win at Monza, where McLaren had a 1-2 finish, and a week later, Lando almost won the Russian Grand Prix after he took pole in qualifying. Sure, that week ended badly for Norris, however McLaren as a team seemed to be on an extreme upwards trajectory. I mean, they could have had 2 wins in a row after 10 years of absolutely no wins at all, so you can't blame me for thinking that this was a new time of success for McLaren. But clearly I was wrong in thinking that as a team they were better than they actually were. My logic was that historically McLaren have been a great team, and over the past few years they've been through some tough financial times. And of course that nightmare-inducing stint with Honda, but still managed to pull through and slowly progress in terms of the car performance. And I thought that since they are now more used to creating a car on less of a budget, would put them at a fairly significant advantage to the likes of Red Bull, Mercedes or Ferrari in a time where a limiting budget cap would be introduced. Paired with 2 great drivers, Lando Norris, who in 2021 had his best season in F1, and Daniel Ricciardo, who was showing big improvements and signs that he would soon be back in full form. So what could go wrong? Well, pretty much everything went wrong. When the 2022 preseason tests started, McLaren was looking very good. Even though it was just preseason testing and generally you shouldn't base much off of testing, McLaren did seem to be in a more than decent position. Porpoising was just starting to be a problem for the majority of the grid, and the McLaren drivers just didn't have that problem. So obviously McLaren were ahead of the competition on this one, right? Well, no. Looking back, the car's Venturi tunnels likely just simply couldn't produce enough downforce to even cause any porpoising. So this meant that they were not only not ahead of the competition, but they were actually miles behind. And that was all clear at the Bahrain Grand Prix, where Daniel Ricciardo was knocked out in Q1 and qualified in P18, and Lando Norris was knocked out in Q2 and qualified in P13. And if that all didn't seem bad enough, their race was even worse, where they had a P14 and P15 finish. Now that might sound like they improved and moved up the field a little bit, but no. There were 3 DNFs in that race, so if they didn't happen, McLaren would have been looking at a more realistic P17 and P18 finish. And you really don't have to be a genius to realize that McLaren had gotten themselves in a really bad place. But since then the car has improved and now looks to be the 4th or 5th fastest car on the grid. And they're now fighting Alpine for 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. So yeah, the car has improved and that's great, but I'll tell you who hasn't improved. That's Daniel Ricciardo. As much as I like the guy, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, Daniel is now McLaren's biggest problem, and even though he is being replaced next season, he's still there for the remainder of the season, and if we go off of what we've seen from Ricciardo this past year, McLaren will likely lose out on a potential 4th place in the standings because of him. That's what happened last year with Ferrari, and it's looking like it's gonna happen again this year. Now, it is clear that McLaren will be replacing Ricciardo with Oscar Piastri next season, and there's no questions as to why. His junior career has been outstanding, and he does seem like he can be a great asset to the team in future. But as for next season, he'll be a rookie. So as far as performance goes, I'm not expecting anything stellar next season. No way will he perform at the same level as Lando, who has been at the team for years now and is fully up to grips with a car that has been built for his driving style. And that's precisely the last issue I see. If Daniel Ricciardo's bad performance was purely caused by the car being hard to adapt to, what's stopping the same from happening to Piastri? It's looking like this whole situation could possibly turn out like the 2nd seat at Red Bull, where it's been extremely hard to find a driver that can get to grips with a car that's been heavily tailored to the main driver. I really do hope that isn't the case, but who knows? I guess we'll see next season. At the end of the day though, I'm not writing McLaren off in terms of making a great car in future. It was quite a bold and quite frankly unrealistic prediction to say that they could have had a front-running car this season. However, they are investing a ton in infrastructure like their brand new state-of-the-art wind tunnel that should be supposedly done by the end of the season. and using this they could of course produce a great car. But I think that where they have managed to place themselves this season certainly slows down their progress by quite a lot. And what's the point of a good car if it can't be driven at the highest level by both drivers? If the second seat at McLaren does become a problem, similar to how it has been in the past at Red Bull, which I think it may, I don't think we'll see McLaren at the top anytime soon. But again guys, I was wrong before and I could be wrong again. Of course you can't be right all the time, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. It also helps a lot with the algorithm if you do so. And if you enjoyed this video, please do consider liking and more importantly subscribing to help with the growth of this channel. But on that note guys, I do hope you all have a blessed night and I hope to see you all next time.